So I will start to introduce. So hi everyone, we are Diet3 and we came to share with you today how a technology of small molecule treating depression has evolved into a company developing first-in-class drug for ovarian cancer treatment. So my name is Sarit Batsir, and I'm standing here with you today wearing two hats. One is the former vice president at Hadassah, good, and the other one, the one that was responsible for this technology commercialization, and the other one is the current CEO of our company. Yes, that technology was so close to my heart, I just couldn't let it go. Okay, so our story begins with Professor Bernard Lerer, who is a psychiatrist and the director of Brain Labs at Hadassah.
Hi, everybody. Well, I didn't get an award from the Duke of Edinburgh, and my accent is South African, not British, but and I'm delighted that we have slides. So it's great to be here. I do want to take 1 second, first of all, to say that it's wonderful to talk to real people and not to a Zoom computer screen. Thanks for this great conference. And also, I want to take a second just to thank the people at Hadassah. I got into tech transferable research quite late in life, and so I've had a lot to do a lot quickly. And we have a lot of inventions that are being developed by them, and I'm really grateful to Hadassah and the whole staff, and Tamar in particular. So, where did we begin? I've always been interested in depression as a focus of drug development and to understand its biology in my lab at Hadassah and also in the clinic. And in particular, not many people are aware of this, but there's a very strong connection between depression and thyroid. People with thyroid diseases have a higher incidence of depression, and depression can help, and thyroid hormone can be very effective in treating depression. So one of the thoughts I had was that if I could find a way to increase thyroid hormone levels in the brain without actually giving exogenous thyroid hormone, that might help not only as an adjuvant to antidepressants, but also possibly as a treatment on its own. So I went around the world looking for somebody who could do this with me, and I found Professor Mukesh from the Indian Institute of Sciences, who turned out to be one of the only people in the entire world who was interested in doing what I wanted him to do, which was to make small molecules that could inhibit deadenase 3. Deadenase 3 is very important in thyroid hormone function. It breaks down triiodothyronine, it breaks down thyroxine. And if one can inhibit DIO3 for reasons related to the locations where DIO3 acts, one can increase thyroid hormone specifically in the brain. And so that's what we did. Mukesh invented, in collaboration with me, a series of small molecules. And we started to work with them in the lab, giving them to mice who were not depressed until we started dealing with them, but they become depressed pretty fast. And then I did the worst thing one could do. I took my own advice. I've always told people, especially the directors of Hadassah, that you have to have downtime. You have to have time when researchers and doctors can just sit in a corner and read, not because it's directly related to what they're doing, but just because it's interesting. So I took my own advice and I read, and I realized that deadenase 3 was important not only in depression, but also in cancer, and particularly important in cancer. And I knew Osnat from before because she was interested in thyroid and she wanted certain specimens from me to study in her lab. So I got Osnat on the couch and as a psychoanalyst, I asked her some very probing questions. The most important one was, would you like to have a molecule that inhibits deadenase 3 as a potential treatment for cancer? And she jumped right up out of the therapist's couch and said, wow, I do. Give it to me. And that's where the story is taken over by Osnat.
Thank you, Rani. First of all, I didn't receive an award from the Duke of Edinburgh as well. And my accent is neither British and not South African, sorry. Israeli, totally. So as Benny said, I'm a researcher, cancer researcher from Meir Medical Center. And I've been studying thyroid hormone's role in cancer for over a decade. Then when he approached me, now it's almost 20 years. And basically, if we look at the thyroid hormone, it's a transcription factor that pushes cells to either differentiate, die from apoptosis, and breathe through the mitochondria. Now, from a point of view of a cancer cell, these are tumor suppressive actions. And for this exact reason, is it passing? Yeah. Many aggressive cancers produce or express this enzyme DIO3 to catabolize thyroid hormones and facilitate tumor growth. So when Benny called me, it was the perfect timing. And I have to say, Benny, I'm sorry to say that, when he called me on a Friday afternoon, and to receive a phone call from a psychiatrist on a Friday afternoon can be very scary, I have to say. But I did. I jumped from joy because it was like the missing link for my research to inhibit the enzyme I was studying. And what we did is we started a very long collaboration. We got funds from the Israel Innovation Authority. And eventually we established that these drugs, or some of these compounds, inhibit very effectively tumor growth, tumor size, and tumor weight. Now, we are here in a session talking about challenges. It's not a surprise that the biggest challenge to take technology from the academia into the industry is to find budget, okay? And we are talking about Israel innovation. It's a good thing, but it's also a problem because we are all competing on the same funds, which are, of course, very limited. And Tommy here in the audience and Benny can recall so many meetings with VCs and pharma companies, hearing again and again. It is it sounds very important and really interesting, but it's too early, okay? But the fact that we are standing here today means that we teamed up with the right investors, and Sarit will take it from here.
So as a VP of Business Development at Hadassah, I showed NGT Incubator a lot of Hadassah's technologies. And at the same time, NGT won a significant grant from the Innovation Authority and committed to establish 60 new companies at year 0. Out of all the technologies I showed at Hadassah, they chose that technology in order to establish the new company. Simultaneously, with my strong background in ovarian cancer and in-depth market knowledge, I felt like it's the perfect match for me to become this company's CEO. So what were our challenges? So first, as I mentioned before, we were the first company to be established in year 0. We had pretty no clue how it should look like, but the meaning of it is that we had a reduced budget of 1.5 million shekels for 1 year, for the first year, in order to demonstrate initial feasibility by transitioning from academia to industry. We had to replicate results observed in the academia for almost half a decade, redo them in a CRO, prepare the company for the next 2 years, all with a reduced budget. It was a very challenging year, but I'm glad to say that in the end we succeeded. And we succeeded and even found out new properties of the molecule that will prepare the company for the next development process. So after the last slide explanation, I think this slide doesn't need much explanations. In all the decision notes we had this year, the budget was always a key concern. How to execute tasks efficiently with minimal budget was really challenging. But I must say that I love this feature in the company management. What are our next challenges now? So when we entering now the regular incubator program with 5 million shekels for 2 years, we will aim to reach a clinical trial in Israel. In order to do that, we will need to seek additional investor, additional funds, and we intend to be precise and thorough, just as we have been before, to find the right investor which aligns with the company technology, with the organizational culture, and resonate well with the other team members. So to sum it up, based on everything I learned guiding this fascinating technology, during the past few years, I leave you with a quote from Dr. Seuss. If things start happening, don't worry, don't stew. Just go right along and you'll start happening too. And that is my take-home message for you. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thanks so much, the O-Tree. Stay up here for a minute. Thank you so much, guys. So at least the presentation's working now, and I see that I probably won't live it down for my Duke of Edinburgh award. Everybody's probably going to say the same thing. So the management have asked me to do a Shark Tank style questioning at the end of each of these companies to hear something that you didn't prepare for. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you anything that you don't want to tell us today. But this is such an interesting story, and it seems so effective. The ITTN has been there to support you and help you get through these stages. Even with the limited financing, at least there was some success there to see the technology and the innovation go through. So I assume that if I ask you what your biggest challenge, you're probably going to say funding. I would assume for you to say so. I think we got that point. So what's the biggest stage that's going to get the innovation now to the public? I know you've got to go through the clinical trials and so on, but apart from money and apart from the trials of it, what is the biggest challenge and hurdle that you have to get over today? And my second question, you can answer them together, is you mentioned there will be a next stage of financing. What type of investment are you looking for? What type of company? Is it an individual? Is it a fund? What type of level? Because there's a lot of people here in the room. It's being recorded. This might bring some success going forward. So whenever you're ready.
So we didn't reach clinical trials yet. We're just in the preclinical stage. So we are not. We have enough funds for the next year, and we are going to make the first feasibility in the next few years in the clinical trial. And regarding the investor, we have nothing particular. Whether it's a company, whether it's a personal, private investment. But as I said before, we want the investor to be aligned with the company technologies, with the team and everything.
I just want to say that my biggest challenge is getting the depression indication back on the table.
Well, it will. I am also.
So if anybody's interested in that, I'm around. Just call Tamar at Hadassah.
Yeah.